Hey guys, it's Kylie. So today we're going to make a sandwich. It's an open face sandwich and it's called a Kentucky Hot Brown. So from the great state of Kentucky, I'm going to show you some steps on how to do that. There are some shortcuts that you can take if you choose to. I recommend doing it this way because I think it's a little bit better, but I mean, that's why I'm doing the video, right? Do it how you want. This one is a tiny bit more involved than some of the ones that we've done recently. You got to get a lot of pans going. So first I'm going to take my bacon, which of course, guess what? I'm using that Wright's bacon. Like I said, it's my favorite. Link in the bio. So I'm going to do, depends on how hungry you are. I'm going to make about 6 slices of it though, and get that going in the pan over medium heat so I can get it good and cooked to however you like it. It's going to go on top of the sandwich at the end so you can leave those pieces whole, or I will probably cut these in half just to like keep them easy to manage in the skillet, which is how I like to do. In the meantime, while that's cooking, I'm going to take my French bread and I'm going to slice it into slices, just ready for the sandwich. Not anything, too crazy on there. I'm also going to slice up some tomato. We'll talk about a little of that over there. While we're here, we got our pots going. Now, I am going to toast my bread in butter on both sides and run it under the broiler first before I actually do it, because I love that. But if it's a shortcut and you don't want to do that and you just want to put the stuff on it and broil it, then do that instead. But I want to add some calories and deliciousness by using this in there too. So then I'm going to put, just for mine, the amount of slices, not bad. I'm going to put about 3 tablespoons into the pot over here so that can melt. I can dip my bread in it and I'll run it in through the broiler. And then I'm going to make a sauce. So the sauce is going to go on it towards the end. So anytime you're going to make a roux, it's a base of fat and flour, and then you're going to add, in this case, milk to it. So however much fat you're using, so I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of butter, you want to use the same amount of flour in order to take that up. So I need to get this into the pan first, let it melt, and then I'm going to add my flour to it. It depends on how dark you want to get it for how much flavoring. If you're making a gumbo, you're going to do it like 30 minutes, so it's going to be a while. This one, I'm just really wanting to get it combined, so you'll let it change color just slightly while you're sitting there stirring it. By the time you're adding the flour to it, you do want to whisk it. So you want to make sure that you're mixing it up with a whisk. So I'm going to let that get to where it's melting, melt my flour, cook my bacon, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, like I mentioned, bacon's cooking, that butter's melting so that we can put our bread in it. My butter in the saucepan's melted, so I'm going to add my 2 tablespoons of flour. So you pretty much want to stir it constantly once you do that, because you're wanting it to absorb all of that oil. It's going to happen pretty quickly. So yeah, we want to make sure that we're mixing it together so it absorbs everything, and then we'll let it brown just a tiny bit for just a minute while we're making sure that it's moved around there. So I've got 2 cups of milk that's going to go into the butter and flour, 2 tablespoons of each that we've mixed together to make our sauce. Again, it's going to come out kind of, I think you can see that like that, where it just stirs together. So we're just heating that oil up with the flour, change color slightly. And again, that's normal for it to be like this, where it's all in a clump. That's why you're going to add your liquids. So then we're going to whisk it together so that it blends well. So this will be the sauce that goes on it. It'll thicken up as you heat it. You don't really want to add extra liquids or seasonings that we're going to add to it in a few minutes until it thickens just slightly. So nutmeg, I don't super love nutmeg. I do like just a hint of it in there, so you can add just a couple of dashes, 1/8 of a tablespoon at the most. I'm sorry, 1/8 of a teaspoon at the most, not that. I'm just going to do a few dashes there. Pepper, we're going to add some pepper to our sauce. So it's about 1/2 teaspoon. Salt, same thing, about 1/2 teaspoon. And then continue to mix that. That's all to taste, so if you try it and you want to add some seasoning to it, you can do that. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of this hot sauce. I got a Mexican hot sauce that is my favorite. So I'm going to add a few dashes to it. Some people like the vinegary ones, some people like Tabasco, some people like none at all. Do what you'd like, but I like to add a little of it. So we're going to let that thicken for just a couple of minutes, and then we're going to take some cheeses. So about half a cup of Parmesan cheese. You want that shredded is what we're going to mix into it, and then about a cup, like 4 ounces of white cheddar cheese. We're also going to mix into it. So I'm going to come back to that in just a minute because it's going to take a minute for this to heat up. But remember, continuing to cook your bacon, melt your butter. So pretty simple concept here. We're going to take our sliced bread and dip it in that butter just on one side or both sides depending on how long you want to broil it in the oven. I've already set the broiler to 500. I think it just depends on how much butter I have, so I'm going to flip them over. So I'm just going to toast the one side. So we've got those on, we're going to throw them in the oven. Just keep an eye on that because they'll burn pretty quickly. But it's going to add some good flavor to it. Our salt is finally ready, so it's thickened up just a little bit, if you can see that, where it kind of catches on the sides. And I'm going to go ahead and add that cheese to it. So I've got the half cup shredded mozzarella, Parmesan, and the 4 ounces of white cheddar. So I'm just going to mix that in there and just stir it until it melts. So next we need to assemble everything. So I've got the golden bread out of the oven, I've got the bacon, I've got the cheese sauce. So on top of each piece of bread we're going to put a piece of turkey. And this is the Kentucky Legend brand, which I prefer. Kind of depends on what you want, but I think they have really good stuff, and it's got a nice thick cut to it whenever you buy it. Then we're going to add some tomato slices. So I've already got tomato slices ready to go over here. So we're going to put 1 piece on each of those, and then we're going to top it with our cheese sauce. So as you can see, that really thickened up. You don't really want to keep this on heat while you're melting your cheese, but if you need a little bit of it just to make those bigger pieces melt down, by all means, go ahead. We're going to spoon some of that right over the top of this. So each one is going to get that. We're going to put it in the broiler for a few minutes just to get it good and hot. And then when we get it out, we're going to top it with a piece of bacon, which I've already got crisp, and then some chives right here. See to see what that looks like. Okay, time to get them out. Get them out. They're all good and bubbly hot. I got some fresh chives from the garden that I'm going to throw some of that on top of each one. And then a piece of bacon or 2. And that is ready to go. So if you try it, let me know what you think. Thanks so much for sticking with me. I am available on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, so be sure to follow me.